come home with sometimes like about a half hour, sometimes 20 minutes to spare, especially like if they have to put a wheelchair on the bus. I'm like, I mean, I hate to be that guy being impatient with a disabled person, but you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, they got to go through the whole thing and lift up the seat and then put the ramp down on the front door, and then they got to get out. You're like, and that happened tonight. And it's like, so it was like 12 after 7 when I finally got home. And so when I sit down, I'm like, well, I am going to pass out. But then as I get talking, I get all this energy, and now I'll be up to like 12:30.
I think there was the episode of Maude where she was getting on the bus, and there was a guy in wheelchairs trying to get on, and everybody was mad at him. But Maude, being the liberal woman she is, she's yelling at everybody not to be so impatient with this poor man in a wheelchair. And she got to know him and found out he was just faking it. He could walk.
Oh.
And you remember this episode?
I don't remember this episode. No, I don't remember this episode, but...
And she invited him over to the house, and she went to the kitchen and caught him. He was standing up, going through her liquor cabinets.
He just wanted to get the prime spot on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boy. And maybe a check.
A check, yes, of course.
Yeah, a check.
Anyway, Maude murdered him. So
Maude beat him, bludgeoned him to death with a hammer, and stabbed him multiple times.
Many episodes of Maude ended with Maude murdering people.
It really does.
Most people don't know this.
There's actually a YouTube channel with all the deleted scenes of Maude. Maude murdering the Black Dahlia. Maude was the second shooter in the book depository in Dallas, with JFK.
Well, she was behind the grassy knoll.
She was in the grassy. She was the figure in the grassy knoll.
She admitted that.
Exactly.
She admitted that in one episode.
She did. They cut that too.
Called Maude's Problem.
Maude's Problem. She's a serial killer. Maude was the son of Sam.
It's the Seti Bimco Show with your hosts, John and Tim. This show is an audio broadcast. You'll need speakers to properly participate.
This is episode 8 of Seti Bimco.
Episode 8 of Seti Bimco. Numero 8.
It's a show.
Numero 8.
It's a show where we look back at high school catastrophes.
Es un programa donde está vivir. Anyway, go ahead.
Stop. There you go. My parents were like, why can't you speak other languages like John when you're in high school?
Why can't you speak Mexican like John Kelly?
Mexican?
That's a story from when I was working for the phone company, and I was working for the phone company in North Carolina, and
you got to clarify that.
They pulled up the wrong screen on the intranet at work, and it was all in Spanish. And they're like, I was like a coach. I wasn't a supervisor at the time. I was a coach. It was like a step. And like, Mr. John, and that's how they talk down there. Mr. John, I'm having a little trouble with this page on my computer. I was like, oh, that's because you have it in the wrong. That's because you have it in the wrong language, Lurleen. And she goes, Mr. John, is that Mexican?
Oh, no.
I'm like, yes, Lurleen, that is Mexican.
Now we got to cut all this out.
That's all right.
Last week when you said that you forgot to pick up what's that actor?
What was his name again? The Slim Jim Eater.
He was in some movie with Scout and
Scout and Dill and
Bo
Radley.
Bo Radley.
Bo Radley. You can't say
Gregory Peck.
Mr. Gregory Peck.
When he was at the hotel, and last week when you said you didn't pick him up, I thought he was at the airport.
Yeah, I noticed that on the you're like, and what was going on at the airport? I'm like, would you shut up about the damn airport already? He wasn't at the damn airport. It was at a house they rented for him.
Thought he was walking around the airport finding children saying, "No, never kill a mockingbird."
Where's there an 80s pretzel when you need one? It's like.
Tell us how your week was.
I thought my neighbor's organs got harvested. That's how my week was. Basically, my story, I was afraid that maybe my downstairs neighbor had his organs harvested because,
what?
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Like, one of my downstairs neighbors, she lives down, and it's the first floor, but it's kind of the basement. It's where the laundry room is. There are 3 one-bedroom apartments down there. And there's one guy that lives down there, and he works as a security guard because he comes home, in his security guard uniform. And he must work like 7 to 3:30 because I work 5 in the morning to 2. And normally if I'm like checking the mail or going to take the trash out of the dumpster, I will see him coming in around about 4 o'clock. And every day he has a 12-pack of like either Keystone Light or Old Milwaukee Light.
Not Coors Light?
Not Coors,
not
Coors Light. Okay. I'm sorry. Well, so every day he comes, and it's obvious he's an alcoholic. I mean, if he was bringing a 12-pack in, every third or fourth day, I'd be like, yeah, okay, he's having a few beers already. But he is drinking a 12-pack every day. None of my business. I'm not judging. So anyway,
he's a security guy, John.
That's true. It's a very, because I think they only get issued one bullet. And like if it goes to the back of the desk drawer and gets like buried under the paper clips, and there's an issue at work as a security guard, and you're like, wait a second, let me find the bullet. I know it's a very stressful job. So he leaves Friday afternoon in like a short sleeve collared shirt, buttoned all the way to the top. By the way, I mean he's like a total nerd. He's a really nice guy. And the nice thing about this apartment building is everybody is very honest. So we have a buzzer to buzz us into the building, much like you would have down where you live.
We do have that.
And the postman the postal carrier, who happens to be a male, has a key, has a master key to unlock the front door, so you can put the mail in our little mailboxes and leave packages and whatever. FedEx and UPS, if you're not home when they get buzzed in or nobody's there to be letting you in, they sit out on the porch. Anyway, he had a very small package, sitting on the little ledge all weekend from Friday night. And he leaves with his collared short sleeve shirt buttoned all the way up, obviously going somewhere. No luggage, unless, of course, he had taken some luggage. Unless he had already put some luggage in the car. I could have missed that. And like the package was sitting there all weekend. And I was like, what has happened to him? He didn't have luggage when he left. He left with a short sleeve collared, buttoned all the way up to the top shirt. Maybe he went out drinking because, let's face it, he is an alcoholic. Somebody roofied his drink and somebody harvested his organs is what I'm thinking. Like these thoughts are, or like I'm thinking, wow, okay, in a couple days, the smell coming out of his apartment is going to be so bad because he got drunk and pulled a Jimi Hendrix and is choked on and is a pool of his own sick. So that was like that. Basically, that was my weekend, worrying about whether or not what terrible things could have befallen my neighbor. So that was my weekend.
You have quite an imagination.
I do have quite an imagination. I really do.
You're always thinking the worst.
I'm always thinking the worst. I am my mother's son. And
we're going to have a guest today.
Yay! I'm very excited.
Marcie from the Movie Mixtape podcast.
One of my favorite podcasts currently. I love that podcast.
Marcie lives in Pittsburgh, where I used to live.
Right. You went to school there at the Art Institute.
I have many Pittsburgh stories, which I will not tell right now because I'll probably talk about it with Marcie. Before we introduce our guest, we're going to mix up how some shows do this. We'll read our letters at the end of the episode. But John, we got a letter.
A letter.
That's not a hate mail. We got lots of hate mail.
We did get lots of, mostly directed at me, I'm sure. They didn't like me making fun of the Amish. I knew that was going to happen.
This letter is from Dirk Feelgood of the Movie Mixtape podcast. So it reads, "Hey, Tim and John, congratulations on the podcast. It's a smash hit in the pop parade. The two of you have perfect voices for podcasts, which is much more of a compliment than saying you have faces for radio. I could honestly listen to you for hours, but I'm grateful instead for the 60 minutes you've gifted us each week. I try to keep it at 45 minutes, but apparently I am your one listener in the UK, which I find hard to believe, what with all your canal and prunella scales talk. I am from the northwest of England, so we love a good canal.
Ooh, good. Yes,
there's a great one near me called the Bridgewater Canal. It's orange due to the iron ore or something. Could just be dirty, I suppose. Anyway, I digress. Oh, and I love a bit of Deep Space Nine chat. on the Trekkie and Trekkers subject, I think Trekkers are the type of people who say they read graphic novels instead of comics.
Oh,
nothing wrong with being a Trekkie. Sorry, I digress again. I don't know if you know that.
No, I was asking. I was not being facetious there. I was actually asking a sincere question because I read.
No, I mean the comics and graphic novels.
Right. Thing. No, I get the analogy.
I understand you're having Marcie on as a guest this week. I know her quite well, and let me tell you, she loves a good story. I suspect you'll need some extra long audio tape or whatever podcasts record on these days. I certainly wouldn't know. Many a night of talking to her ends with me saying, I need to go to bed, with her replying, sure. Hey, this funny thing happened to me in 1999 when I was at a party with Bill Murray. Well, maybe not Bill Murray, but the rest is true. She's your archetypical old man in the pub spitting yarns in exchange for pints of bitter.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the absolute best way.
Oh.
She's incredible, and I can't wait to listen to your conversation. Hope you guys have fun. Can't wait for the embarrassing stories to start and this email to be read out in 4 weeks' time. All the best, Dirk.
Oh, that was very nice.
Yes.
That.
Anyway,
coincidentally,
we have
Marcie
on the show. Just introduce our guest today.
Yes.
Who is from the Movie Mixtape podcast, and her name is Marcie Newbridge. Yay!
Hi. It's so nice to be here. Thank you both for inviting me.
We still can't get a studio audience.
That sounds
I meant to say.
No, see, I don't know how you bill your podcast, Marcie. I don't know if you're billed as a Movie Mixtape with Dirk and Marcie.
Yeah,
Yeah. See, it's Tim and John. Well, originally it was Tim and co-host, but I put my foot down and said, no, I must be mentioned. I have to be mentioned. I'm sorry.
Good for you, John. I'm glad you stood your ground.
Once in a while, I do stand my ground with Tim. Tim and I have known each other since we were 15 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
it was my way to get revenge on John because John was always the one. My parents were like, "Why can't you be as good as John?"
Which I don't understand.
And you were like, many years from now, I'll have a podcast and not have John be mentioned, but he'll be on the podcast.
Yeah. Tim was ahead of his time. Said one day they're going to invent this thing called a podcast. But I don't understand why your parents thought that about me.
Oh, I don't know. They just thought very little of me, I guess.
It must be, Tim. It must be because all the things they accused you. Well, I had the Catholic guilt too. I mean, all the things they accused you of were the things I was doing.
I know. You'll hear about them, Marcie, in the other episodes.
Okay, I'm excited.
And I will explain to John. Oh, sorry. Well, I'll explain to John. I met Marcie on the Bat and Spider Discord, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Dirk. The Bat and Spider podcast has a Discord, which is kind of a private like chat room.
Chat room.
Okay,
I would say chat room. Yeah.
And I don't want to do one because I don't have the time to watch people and take care of it.
No.
And I kind of joked that I found out Dirk is a doctor, correct?
Yes.
And I'm like, why don't you call yourself Dr. Feelgood? And he was like, I heard grumble, and I realized, ever since you've been in medical school, probably everybody has called you Dr. Feelgood, and you've murdered all those people, and I'm next on the list.
Yes. Like anybody named Stella has always had their name screamed
by
someone.
But you have to, though. You have to yell, Stella!
And we used to have a dog named Stella, so people would do that to me.
As soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh, Stella was a wonderful dog." I met Stella, and Stella was a great dog. Yeah, she was a sweetheart.
So,
but I hope you were comfortable in the green room, Marcie. I hope everything was okay back there.
Yes, it was. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed all the snacks. Thank you.
Well, we used to have better food for our first guest, Edie Nugent. We hired disgraced celebrity chef Mario Battaglia. We got him for practically nothing. In fact, our budget is the 2 dozen deposit bottles I return every other week, and we still had money left over. Unfortunately, I think Edie took a lot of the food home with her, along with the green room Tupperware.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so I can't even take anything to go.
So for our next, exactly. Thank you, Edie. For our next guest, New York Times bestselling author George O'Connor, all we had left over were some dried up potato skins and bottles of olive oil. Let's just say you didn't want to use the bathroom for a couple days after that. Nobody could go in. So this time we do have it stocked with foods that we have mentioned in previous episodes of our podcast, like Reese's Pieces and cream puffs and hot dogs and mayonnaise.
Perfect.
John loves dropping names.
We hope you enjoyed the only name I ever dropped was a little actor named Gregory Peck. That's the only name I dropped.
That's a big name, though.
He has a great story. You'll have to listen to last week's episode.
Goodness, I can't wait for that. I love Gregory Peck. Roman Holiday is one of my favorite movies ever.
Isn't that a wonderful movie?
Yes, I love it.
It's a wonderful movie. Audrey Hepburn and Eddie Albert, and yes.
Yeah, I love that movie. I went to Rome specifically because of that movie.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted to do
and did you go to
Truth.
every place they were at?
Yeah, we did.
Did you zip around on a Vespa?
No, I was too nervous.
Okay.
I did sit on one to take a picture really quick, and then my husband was like, "Hurry up and get off of it," because that's not our Vespa.
Before some big Italian guy comes over and beats us up. No.
There's a gang of Vespa riders.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. The Vespa's
get off.
Vespa's Angels or something was their name.
Get off that Vespa before some Italian guy sexually objectifies you.
Oh my gosh.
I shouldn't say that. I got to cut that out because all the Italians are going to send me hate mail.
Oh boy. Yeah, you don't want to alienate Italy. Please don't.
So you live in Pittsburgh. Yes,
I do. Yeah, and it's funny because so obviously Dirk lives in Liverpool. And we also have to record ahead of time because we have a 5-hour time difference. Well, right now it's 4 hours. They haven't done their daylight savings yet.
Because they're not as smart as us.
Yeah. But
we don't need to edit that out. We can't talk about we can't talk about the Italians, who, by the way, don't speak our language. But the English who do speak our language, we're going to keep that in.
Right.
Dirk needs to hear that. He needs to hear it. So, but yes, I live in Pittsburgh. Tim, I know you said you lived here for a little bit. How long ago was that?
Oh, that'd be giving away our ages.
Oh no,
I'm okay with my ages. It was the late '80s. I went to the Art Institute of Pittsburgh, which went out of business, and it seemed sketchy when I was there. Do you know about them?
Yes,
you know people
I do.
That went there?
I used to work downtown before the pandemic. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like PNC Bank, but I work for PNC Bank, and I worked downtown, and actually where the Art Institute was, I worked right by it, but now it's apartment buildings. So yeah, it's completely different now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you like living here, Tim?
Did I like Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
I come from a very small town where John knows it's like a nowhere town. So it was the first big city I went to. And looking back, I'd say it's a nice city. Now I live in New York. It's like Pittsburgh is a big city, but it's basically all white people. It's not as much of a melting pot.
Yeah.
But I lived in Squirrel Hill.
Okay. Oh, that's a really fun neighborhood. We did you ever go to the Manor Theater when you were there? The old Manor Theater? Yeah.
I got on a bus with my friends, and I went to see a lot of movies at a theater that played like new and old films, and I can't remember the name of it now.
Okay.
It was next to go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the Manor, which is in Squirrel Hill, it's been around since like the 1900s, so I just didn't know if maybe that was like the theater you went to or not.
Sorry, John. Sorry, I'm just talking about Pittsburgh.
No,
John,
that's quite all right. I'm being educated. The only time I was ever to Pittsburgh, it was the summer my parents were getting divorced, although I didn't know they were getting divorced. And it was the summer before I moved to the town where Tim and I met, where we grew up. Mm-hmm. And I had to go stay with my aunt and uncle in Charleston, West Virginia.
Okay.
And so the bus, like the last stop of the bus, the last layover on the bus was in Pittsburgh. And that's the only time I've ever been in Pittsburgh. So I saw the bus station, and a lot of Amish people ride the Greyhound bus. We were talking about Amish people last. Mm-hmm. Yes, very, very.
I smell it. There's no tragedy coming on besides the divorce.
No,
every time John tells this story, he's like, my aunt Martha, she died in a terrible fire.
Well, my parents' divorce was kind of tragic, Tim. I kind of went off with that, you know?
I know. I'm sorry. I didn't realize how close Pittsburgh was to like Virginia because I knew a girl down the hall. She would write letters to her boyfriend, and finally I was asking about her boyfriend. She's like, yeah, he's in Virginia. He's in prison. And me and my friends were like, you can meet other people here at school. And she says, no, I'm going to keep writing letters to my boyfriend in prison. And another roommate another friend had a father who was a police officer in Virginia, and he'd come and everybody's like, ooh, your father's coming. And I was like, why? Why is that exciting? And they're like, oh, he's going to bring his police photos of murder scenes or, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
He would bring these explicit pictures.
Oh, wow.
So I met a lot of interesting people.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you had a good time, Tim. I'm glad that Pittsburgh was good to you.
But what about, I'm sorry, here I'm talking about me.
Oh, no. I wanted to know about the Pittsburgh experience you had. So I'm really happy to hear that.
That was mostly it. And I had a roommate who, me and my friends were so innocent. A lot of weekends, he would dress up as a woman. His friends would come to the house. He'd like, I love dressing like a woman and going to the bars. We're like, you're a crazy guy. We're just because he had a girlfriend. We're like, he's crazy. He likes to go out and dress up as a woman, which is a thing. But I was so young then, I didn't think. Some men like to dress as a woman, and that's just a different thing. They can be straight, you know. That's But after graduation, he broke up with his girlfriend, and he was gay, which, you know, it's too bad. We didn't really care, but he was like, I'm not gay. I just love going to the bars, dressed like a woman, and he was doing that every weekend.
It happens.
Anyway,
you have to figure it out in your own time.
We actually have like a pretty big like drag queen like thing here in Pittsburgh. I don't know if you guys have ever watched like RuPaul's Drag Race, but a couple of like the winners have actually come from Pittsburgh, like Sharon Needles and Alexis, and I think like Trixie Mattel always comes by. We're like we do like a big like week-long Pride thing in Pittsburgh, and actually like Trixie Mattel is going to be here for a couple of days. I love RuPaul's Drag Race. It's like one of my favorite shows. It's just a very good like feel-good show. And
you need that in your life. It's you really do.
It like really, I didn't really start watching it until like when the whole pandemic started. And my friend was like, watch this. It'll really make you feel good. And I just got hooked immediately. And it really is like the most like feel good show ever. And it's really entertaining. But yeah, we have a big like drag queen like thing here in Pittsburgh. We have a couple bars that just do that. And then like we do drag queen bingo all the time. It's so much fun. My one friend she loves going. So I end up going with her a lot of the time. And yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. So the movie mixtape, Dirk and I, for like about a year. So Dirk and I only met like about a year ago, and he's the one that brought me over into the Bat and Spider Discord and everything. And we've always kind of just joked around that we were going to do a podcast because everybody does a podcast, you know? So,
look at us.
Yeah. We've been talking about it since high school.
Anybody can do a podcast.
Tim knew. One day, podcasts are going to be a thing. Tim knew all along.
I'm gonna get that, John. I'll paint his little wagon.
So we just came up with this idea that, you know, we wanted it to be focused on movies, but I'm sure you both have done this before, but you know, you've made mixtapes for your friends and you put all your favorite songs on the mixtape. So instead of making like a music mixtape, we're making a movie mixtape where we're picking our favorite movies for each other and putting them on the mixtape. And we have different themes. How it goes is Dirk picks a movie that I've never seen, then I pick a movie he's never seen, and then we pick a movie we both have seen, and then a new movie for both of us. And so right now we're going on to a theme called All-Timers, where we're picking our favorites. And actually, Roman Holiday is going to be my favorite pick. Dirk's never seen it, so it's kind of funny that we were like talking about it. We did Let's Dance so far, Japan, and Introduction. So we started off with Introduction. But I was wondering, do either of you have any fun ideas for future mixes? Can you think of anything fun we could try out?
Well, I gave you one, so maybe I'll let John go first.
Okay, yes.
And then I'll see if I have a different one. But I'll tell John. Did you know what mine was, John? So you want an example?
Yeah, give me an example. Are we talking about like a theme or a specific title?
It could be a theme. It could be a specific title. Like some other things we have planned is like adolescence. So we're going to do like high school movies. Like the reason we picked Japan is that's a country we both want to travel to. So there's like, it's like to get to know us a little bit better. So we pick themes that like pertain to us, but like we also try to get creative with it and everything. So if that answers your question, John.
Okay, yeah, that does. Because
I said, oh, go ahead. You've got an idea.
Well, no, my idea. Well, I don't know how this will fly, but I was kind of thinking. Because I was thinking we kind of might use this for our show, but I don't know.
Don't give it away.
Well, no, it might not work on our show because our show is really more about the high school experience and kind of the pop culture of that time. But I was thinking of like movies by Star Wars actors outside of the Star Wars series.
Oh,
so like, for example, and not that you would use these, like there would be, Mark Hamill in Corvette Summer, Carrie Fisher in Under the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher wrote Postcards from the Edge. Harrison Ford in whatever Harrison Ford did, if you could find something that was a little less.
The Fugitive.
I have been trying to get Air Force One on the pod, so maybe that will be the Harrison Ford movie.
There you go. I know my favorite thing about Air Force One is and I don't know why it's my favorite thing, Glenn Close is the vice president.
Oh, yeah, that is so awesome. Oh, she would be a great vice president, too.
She really would.
I can't say what my favorite thing is of Air Force One because Tim's never seen it, and I don't want to ruin anything.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay. Spoil alert, Tim. Glenn Close plays the vice president.
Sorry, this very old movie, Tim. So there is obviously somebody. There's an American on Air Force One that has betrayed everybody. I think they're working with the Russians. They're, something like that. I don't know. But this one guy that betrays everybody, William H. Macy is also in the movie. But when they realize it's this one guy, William H. Macy just goes, "It was you." And it's just like the way he says it it makes me laugh so hard every time I watch that movie. And it's just a really great William H. Macy performance.
And I do love airplane movies.
Oh, you should watch it, Tim. It's entertaining at the least.
Con Air? Don't you like Con Air?
Con Air is great. I think Air Force One's a little bit better. But
I heard that reaction that William H. Macy had in that film was the same reaction he had when he found out Felicity Huffman had paid off the guy to get her daughter into school. You did that?
It was you?
That was you?
Oh my gosh, John, that was good. Well, that was great. And that was pretty similar to what Tim suggested, actually. So, Tim, you should see
I suggested all the films that Patrick Stewart was in that aren't Star Trek.
I did hear that email on the last episode of the movie mixtape. Yes, I did. Okay, yes, I did.
But we do have to do a Star Trek. I feel like because I love Jonathan Frakes so much. I'd like to at least do First Contact because he directed it. So I don't know.
He's your favorite Trek character?
Yeah, actually. So this kind of leads perfectly into my Next Generation story. If you both are interested,
sure.
in hearing it. So we have a little con here in Pittsburgh, like a little comic con. It's nothing major, but we do get some pretty big people. It's called Steel City Con because we're known as the Steel City. And 1 year, Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner, they were here. My friend and I, we were going to go and meet them because you don't have to pay to meet them. You can actually just go up to the table and talk to them. And we were just going to do that. We were running so late though. So we got there and there was an hour left for the day or whatever. And there they were. And I froze. I have a big crush on Jonathan Frakes, even though he's older. I think he's in his 70s now. I still think he's very handsome. And I didn't know what to do. And we just kind of all stared at each other awkwardly for a little bit. And then when they realized nothing was going to happen, they got up to leave for the day. But because it's just a little Pittsburgh Comic Con, celebrities just walk. I've met Henry Winkler several times because he just comes up to you and is like, "Hello, I'm Henry Winkler," and you're like, "Okay." Yeah. So they got up to leave, and then I was like, "I can't let this happen." So we kind of followed behind them.
So you were stalking them, is what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And but keeping our heads down, But I was with a guy friend. And we were following them, and they stopped and used the restroom, before they left. And my friend and I kind of looked at each other, and he said, well, I'll see you later. And he went in after them. No. And I was so mortified that I just walked around. I didn't even want to wait for him to come out after that. So I didn't even ask him what happened. I just was so mortified. Yeah, he came out, and I was like, I don't even want to know. Like that. I can't.
He came out and is with urine on his pants. And you're like,
following men into the men's room. Who does he think he is? A Republican congressman? What is wrong with him?
And you like the Marvel movies, so.
I love the Marvel movies. I don't know. Well, I just saw your review come in, Tim, for No Way.
I'm sorry. I think what happened is people way overhyped it, so we finally saw it and we're like, it's okay.
Okay. I can understand that. Yeah.
And my review wasn't meant to be, I hated it. My review is just me being snarky. It was an okay film.
That's okay. I try to go the Thursday night because I'm one of those people, like, I will avoid the internet at all costs. I don't want anything spoiled, but they are like my favorite thing. Like, I don't get very much into franchises, but for some reason I've been going since Iron Man came out. I've seen every one of them except for The Incredible Hulk, which also came out in 2008. So I've just been going. I have always liked superheroes. I read comic books, but there's just something special. I think it's just how it's all connected, how hard they've been working for, what is it, like,
long time.
I don't know. But
that was 2008?
Like, yeah, so it started in 2008. So what, it's like 14 years now? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's a big part of my life. You know, I was 18 when that all started, and I'll be 32 this year. So I mean, that's like, you know, almost half of my life right there. And I don't know. I know some people throw it under the bus. That's okay. I know it's not for everybody, but I have a good time with it. Yeah.
John hates the Batman because his friends all went to see that instead of listening to our podcast.
They couldn't listen to the podcast. They couldn't listen to the podcast and go see the Batman in the same week. I don't know why.
Oh, in the same week? Yeah.
I know, right? That. I mean, we live outside Syracuse, New York. What else is there to do?
The Batman was good though, John. Maybe you'll come around. I don't know. Well, I do have one more question. I know you both like. I think it's fair to say you both enjoy movies, right? That would be a fair assessment.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just thought this would be a fun question. Do either of you have like a moment or a movie where you just knew you loved movies? Like you just like, you know, like when you watch them when you're younger and you're like, yeah, I like this. But do you like, because I have a specific movie and moment that I just remember being like, wow, I really love movies and I want to like know everything about movies and I want to just learn as much as I can about this and I want to watch every movie ever made. Like, do either of you have like a moment like that?
Do you want me to go first, John, or you want to go?
Go ahead. You go first, Tim.
Are you thinking?
No, I have my answer.
I think I had many moments, but I think it became clear to me when, but the town I'm from barely had a library. It's just before the internet. There were 3 channels on TV. There was no way to rent movies. So I didn't have access to like a great movie unless it was on TV and they cut it up with editing and the commercials. So when I finally went to college, I ended up, especially in Pittsburgh, Carnegie, I just ended up going to the library. I'm like, look at all these books. I found the Warren Report and I was looking through it. I was like, really? I can just read this? I didn't know it was in there. Like, oh, and there's the president's head blown open because it's autopsy pictures.
Oh my God.
But I also found books about Kubrick films. Like I never knew about Clockwork Orange from my little town. I didn't know about other films. And I was like, what is this film? How can I see it? And I went and got the book Clockwork Orange and read it. And then in that theater in Pittsburgh, they showed it and I went to see it. And I did my homework because I wanted to do art, but the rest of my time was like hunting down movies I could finally see. And I went to that art theater so much with my friends, right? Or I went alone.
I go to movies by myself all the time. I love it, actually.
So do I.
Yeah.
I saw Aguar, Wrath of God, I saw in Pittsburgh. That blew me away. So it was kind of a moment of, I guess, when I went to college and I spent a lot of time in the library hunting down films and I realized, so.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool, Tim. Oh, I love that.
How about you, John?
I have to say probably the first movie that really made an impact on me is actually the first movie I ever remember seeing at a drive-in movie theater. And I would have been about 6 or 7 years old. And it was a double feature. The first feature was the animated 101 Dalmatians, and the second feature was the original Poseidon Adventure.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And
what a combo.
Yeah, really, right? And I remember that night so well because I remember they had of course I can't do these things today because of insurance, but they had there were swings in front of the movie screen. You know, you'd come before the sun came down, and they had a little, those little merry-go-round things you used to push, and I fell off the merry-go-round, and I skinned my knee really badly. And I remember my mother giving me, are they called Vienna wafers? The vanilla cookies with the vanilla cream filling.
She was putting those on your knee?
No, she gave me one. She gave me one to use. I guess she figured if I had something in my mouth, I'd stop crying. And I just remember and I don't know if it was being at the drive-in movie theater, or if it was the actual film or a combination of the two, but it's the first time I remember just absolutely sitting and just having my attention held for that amount of time. Yeah. Just, the ship turning over and the whole, and, getting back up to the bottom of the ship, which was the top of the ship because the ship was upside down, and just actually getting absorbed in the story and following it. Because, at that point of your life, the most you have an attention span for is a Saturday morning cartoon. And even that is broken up into little 7 to 10 minute segments, so you weren't really, your attention span wasn't really tested, but that was the first time where I remember my brothers falling asleep, and I just stayed up. I stayed up through the whole movie and just got into it. And that's where I learned, I think that's where my love of movies started, where.
Oh, wow.
Now, I will say I do have a story. I don't remember it very well because
Here comes the tragedy.
No, it's not a tragedy because I only got to see 5 minutes of the movie. But I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I had a great aunt. She was my grandmother's sister-in-law, and she had more money than God. And that is not hyperbole. She had so much money. She was from Park Slope in Brooklyn. Her father had a tug and ferry business. They were one of those people the Depression didn't even touch. And she always took a liking to me, and she took me to see a movie. It was with Jane Fonda and Gig Young, and it's about a dance marathon, and it's called They Shoot Horses, Don't They?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
She took me to see They Shoot Horses, Don't They? Because she thought it was a Western.
Oh, my God. Oh, no. And then she yanked you out?
She yanked me right out. That Jane Fonda started swearing right off the bat.
I thought maybe the theater burned down.
No.
John, I'm amazed. I feel like I know so much about movies, but then you just blow me away with all this information.
I didn't date in high school, Marcie. I had a lot of time on my hands. Yes. I grew up, before I moved to the town where I met Tim, I moved to that town when I was about 15 years old. Before that, I lived either in the city or within 100 miles outside New York City. Okay. And so, there was a lot of television channels, and I had the exact opposite experience that I had in the town we grew up with. That I grew up with Tim, movie theaters, and I wasn't too far from Woodstock, New York, which always had the strange little vibe. Yeah, yeah. No, I do. I didn't realize how much I know, but what I wanted to tell. Because if you've listened to our podcast, there was a time I used to do extra work. I lived in North Carolina for several years. I went to college down there. And in Wilmington, North Carolina, they used to have a very big film and TV industry. So I used to do a lot of extra work in film and TV down in Wilmington. I lived in Raleigh. And the first thing I ever did was they found these old Twilight Zone scripts in Rod Serling's attic, in a chest somewhere, that had been unproduced. What? Yeah. His wife? Widow just his widow just passed away within the last 4 or 5 years. It's very funny because Rod Serling grew up in Binghamton, New York. Uncle Wright, who I was talking about, who with the heating pad.
She's got to listen. She's got to listen to that episode. Uncle Roy.
Well, that's why I didn't give too much. But anyway, he went to school with Rod Serling's brother, and. Yeah. So my first extra gig was it was almost kind of like the Island of Dr. Moreau, kind of. It was with Jack Palance. And I'm going to really condense this here for time's sake, but basically he was this doctor who had created this serum, and it was the living dead, and he kept them alive. And then he dies, and they run out of the serum, and they're trapped on this island, and the living dead start turning into zombies. And my first extra gig was playing a zombie, and I remember we were out in the woods, and it had been raining for a few days, and like the mud was like halfway up my shins, and I remember looking down and thinking, wow, I'm on television. This is so glamorous. But the other segment of the movie, was with Amy Irving, and she goes into this movie theater, and she starts seeing this movie, and it slowly occurs to her that everything that's happened in the movie has happened in her life.
Oh, wow.
And then they get to the point where she's actually sitting in a movie theater. The character is actually sitting in a movie theater watching a movie. And then it's like, well, what is going to happen next?
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
What was the name of this movie, John?
It was called they called it Twilight. They built it as the Twilight Zone. It was a TV movie. It was a TV. It came out in
TV Twilight Zone movie.
Yeah, it was like an anthology. They did like an anthology. I think it was only 2 parts. Maybe there were 3, but I only recall 2 parts.
They did
or
one.
I might have been in the second part and just shut it. And there might have been a third part and be like, well, I saw my part and I just turned it off. Because it's not about me anymore. I'm not interested.
Oh, my gosh.
That's how John gets through life.
That is how I get through life. Once it's not about me.
1, 2, 3. It's time to visit the past. Yay.
Yay.
That one might have actually worked.
That might have worked.
Were we supposed to say it that slow? It was unintentional.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, Edie, I don't know. It's a different speed every week. I think I'm keeping up, and then I'm like falling behind, or I'm ahead.
Marcie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking about the first time we did it with Edie. My apologies, Marcie.
Yeah, we did it like 5 times with Edie until she's Edie, like, "I'm leaving. I'm going back to the green room."
Okay.
She did. Right. I'm gonna steal the rest of that Tupperware and take the rest of that food.
So what? Wow. Yeah, go ahead and tell your story.
So my high school story? Okay, so it is slightly embarrassing, but it's also fun, and it has a happy ending.
Okay.
So I am an only child, and as I was getting into high school and stuff, you can imagine my parents would leave me home alone a lot, and I would have parties sometimes. But really, like, it's not like the movies, it's not crazy. It's people in a circle together passing around a Coors Light because that's all somebody's brother could get us, And, we were young. And one time, this one party, I don't know, we were all drinking and then everybody left that night. But somebody had we had TiVo at the time, and I don't know if you guys remember TiVo.
Oh, yeah. TiVo. What are we talking about?
It was the recording.
Oh.
It was the recording.
Yeah, it's like
the original
what you
DVR.
Yeah, it was before DVR. It was, you had to buy a separate box, and you had TiVo, and you could like pause live TV. You could record live TV.
What year are we talking? Are you willing to tell us?
Oh, yeah. It was either 2006 or 2007. I can't remember, but it was around that time. So one of my friends got very drunk and took the
on 3 sips of Coors Light. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, of Coors Light.
on one can you all shared.
Yeah, the communal Coors Light. So somebody had taken the TiVo remote. A day later, my parents came home, and they left. They trusted me to be home alone, but they also, when they came home, they were like sweeping the place for like fingerprints, essentially.
Wow.
And sure enough, my stepdad was like, "Where's the TiVo remote? Where's the TiVo remote? Where's the TiVo remote?" And I had a second of where it's like, do I tell the truth, or what do I do here? And I was like, I'm not going down for a TiVo remote. There's no way. There's no way I'm getting grounded for a month for a TiVo remote. So I just decided then and there that I was going to play stupid. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean the TiVo remote? And I had to think of a game plan that I was going to have to track down everybody that was at my house this weekend on Monday at school, first thing, and be like, you better find out who had the TiVo remote. And so, my parents are all mad at me. They're planning what my punishment is going to be and everything. And I go to school the next day, And luckily enough, the guy that took it, he actually came up to me and was like, I have your TiVo remote. And I was like, yes, I know exactly what I'm going to do when I get home. So sure enough, I got home. My parents were still at work. I hid the TiVo remote within the couch cushions, like deep in the couch cushions. Mm-hmm. And then I just played the waiting game. And I was like, we're just going to keep denying it. We're going to take the punishment for now. But one day they are going to find the TiVo remote. And then I think it was like a couple of days later, my mom found it and was like, here it is. She didn't have a party, you know, like, because they were so convinced I had a party and somebody had taken it. And, you know, and I just kept going, no, I didn't have a party. Nobody took the TiVo remote. And so my mom found it. She was like, you're not grounded anymore, you know. And I was like, well, you guys were pretty harsh to me and you should feel pretty bad. So
I hope you've learned your lesson.
Yeah. So the next weekend, they actually took me to the Apple store, and I got my first iPod. You remember iPods? So
sure, yeah.
I got an iPod out of it because I guilt tripped them so bad.
Oh, this is pushing it. This is pushing it, Marcie. Nothing good's going to come of this story. I can tell.
Well, yeah. My mom knows this story now because it was like years later, and I was like, "Hey, remember that one time the TiVo remote went missing?" I was like, "I did have a party." And she didn't care at that point, but right. I don't know. That's just like one of my favorite stories ever where, you know, it's like you could tell the truth, but it was like, I'm not going down for that remote. I'm not going down for that remote.
I don't know. I don't know how you clean up every bit of evidence.
I said, we all huddled in a circle together.
There was only one course.
There was one course light. There was like one can. There was like one can to get rid of. How hard could that be?
You paid for one Skinamax movie.
Watch it through the blurry lines.
We all chipped in together. No, it's just, one time we did, so I had a couple parties in high school because my parents were always leaving. I don't know. And we drank their vodka and somebody was like, water it down. And I, being an idiot, put Capri Sun in it, thinking it'd be the same color, but not thinking about the flavor of it.
Oh, geez.
Oh, you mean to show you didn't drink any of it?
Yeah. And I filled it up with a Capri Sun, not water, like a normal person would. I thought a Capri Sun would be fine. They never drank it, so they never found out. But, you know, I lucked out.
You lucked out so much.
I know.
I always managed to get caught. Somehow,
I trust me, John. I have had my fair share of that too, but
you didn't have email when you were in high school, then?
We did have email, but it was more like, you know, remember AOL instant messaging and stuff? Yeah. That's what we used to do in high school.
So I thought you would have just messaged everybody to find out where your TiVo was.
I just thought it'd be better. Well, my parents were always like, I was an only child, so they were always like, what is she up to? What is she doing? So they would sign on to my AOL, check things. What? So I was very like, if we're going to talk about stuff, it's going to be in person. I'm not going to write anything down where they could find it.
Were they signing up with fake names?
Yeah.
No, they were like, what's your password? We need to go on here and make sure you're not doing anything wrong on the internet. And it was like, oh my gosh, here's my password. You can have, they were just,
and this was way back when there wasn't quite as much dangerous on the internet.
No. And all I was doing on the internet was instant messaging. Right. I just wanted to talk to my friends.
Of course, back then it was dial-up internet. And by the time they got the message, they would have already been back in school on Monday. So it's like, why bother, you know?
They'd hear that terrible sound in your bedroom that it makes.
Oh my gosh!
My mother had that until just like about a year and a half ago.
Oh really?
They finally got broadband out. You know, Tim's been out to my mom's house. They finally got broadband out there like about a year and a half ago.
Oh my gosh! My one old job, my first job after college, I worked at an ice skating rink at the front desk. It was really
you didn't deal with the public.
Yeah. No, well, so people could come in to watch them practice and everything. But actually, I was lucky enough to work there when the NHL was in a lockout. Mm-hmm. People didn't know that they were still practicing. So when professional hockey is on a lockout, they still can practice. They just can't use anything affiliated with the team or anything affiliated with the NHL. So they were using like the regular gym right next to my desk. They weren't using their personal gym. And they actually were getting ready and changing in the girls' locker room because they weren't allowed to use their official locker room. But the whole time the lockout was going on, they were still practicing every day. And we were dead. Nobody knew they were practicing.
Interesting.
And like you'd get like a couple people here and there and stuff. But then like when the lockout lifted, I mean, we had to turn people away. There were so many people, like, because everyone was excited that the league was coming back and stuff. And
sure.
But I met all of them. They were the nicest people. Like Sidney Crosby would say good morning every.
I was going to ask if you met Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, he's really. I mean, they're all pretty down to earth. Because I've met a couple of football. Because football's big here. When you go to bars and stuff, you'll run into football players. I've never really met any of the baseball players, but it's the Pirates. Who cares? Right. But the hockey players, they're very down to earth people, and sometimes we run into them, every so often. But my husband, he actually works. So it's called Atlantic Aviation. It's all around the United States. And that's the private section of airports. And that's where all the private planes come in. So that's where all the sports teams go and fly into and fly out of. So my husband meets all kinds of people. He could care less, but he interacts with them all the time. He thinks they're like the nicest people ever. He's actually like driven Sidney Crosby's car around to like move it around and stuff like that. So my husband has like crazy stories, but he doesn't care.
Does he
like
meet
one way or the other?
Movie people?
Yes. So right now, Tom Hanks is filming a movie in Pittsburgh. He sees him all the time when he comes in and out. We actually have some Tom Hanks cream soda in my fridge right now. So we have a
cream
joke.
Soda.
Not a joke.
We'll talk about it first.
Well, that's the other nice thing, too. Anything on these planes, when they fly in or fly out, doesn't matter who it is, they don't want it anymore. So we get champagne, we get wine, so like the one day, so my husband and I, we have this joke. We call Tom Hanks my dad. I like to just say Tom Hanks is my father. So whenever he does come in, he goes, "Your dad's here." And I'm like, "Oh, tell him I said hi." But the one day he was like,
"But don't tell Rita."
Yeah. But he was like, "Do you want Tom Hanks's cream soda?" Like he had a whole case of it and I don't drink cream soda, but because it was his, I was like, "Can you bring it home?" So now we have all this cream soda.
You want to swab all that DNA off there.
I just want to like treasure it forever.
It makes a wonderful ice cream float though. Like if you put a scoop
maybe we'll try that.
Put a scoop of vanilla ice cream in it.
Okay.
Maybe that
I can't drink it by itself.
There you go. Try that. See if that works.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you ask your husband to ask Tom Hanks about Mazes and Monsters? We have some questions.
We'd
like to know.
I'm sure he talks. I'm sure he just loves talking about that movie. I did want to know, like, what model Kia does Sidney Crosby drive? Do you know?
So he drives a Range Rover. Actually, it's a Range Rover. So it's not a Kia.
Not a Kia. Rover. Wow, that surprises me. I would have pegged him for.
Does he offer his clients Slim Jims?
No.
You'll have to hear last week's episode. It's that's a joke at John's expense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
You'll hear his story.
I think just the ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage offers Slim Jims.
So. I used that voice in the last episode. Somebody's going to sue me for using, because I don't think I've licensed that voice yet. So,
yeah,
I do know that they were filming. There was a show called Mindhunter with Jonathan Groff, and I have the wickedest crush on Jonathan Groff, but he's dating some guy from New Zealand now. I don't want to start rumors about Jonathan Groff's boyfriend, but I've heard that he's really into some kiddie porn and selling meth to elementary school children. But allegedly, I hope they're very happy because I do want Jonathan to be very happy. But I did watch that show, and I don't know if they're even making any more episodes, but I know they filmed that in Pittsburgh.
No.
What? It's canceled? No.
There's talks of them coming back for season 3. I hope they do because I think that's one of the best shows I've ever seen. But we would go down. So a lot of things are filmed in Pittsburgh. And I like to just go and check things out and actually, John, I've been an extra a couple of times because we get a big tax break here in Pittsburgh. So they film all kinds of things. So I've done the extra thing too. And there's like a Pittsburgh film company that you can sign up for. They'll give you emails. They'll be like, this is filming here. We're looking for this certain type of person. They pay you. They feed you all day. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And I've been in a couple of things and I've always had fun doing it. But when they were filming Mindhunter, because I'm a big David Fincher fan too, I would just try to go down to just see him because, I mean, why not? But my grandmother used to live in this apartment building. And my favorite character in Mindhunter is Wendy, the female lead. And so where she lives in season 2, they filmed that. That's actually where my grandmother lived, that whole building. And they would film on my grandmother's floor, but nobody was allowed to leave while they were filming. So they paid everybody on that floor $100 a day. So they would just to stay in their room. Wow. Not to leave and not to interrupt the filming. So my grandmother was always like, "Oh, I'm getting $100 today." And then she was so excited to see her apartment. My whole family had to be like, "You cannot watch this show." She's like 95 now. We were like, "You absolutely cannot watch this show." And she would always get mad at us, but she doesn't know what Netflix is or how to work it, so we didn't have to worry about her finding it.
And every so often on an episode of Mindhunter, if you pay close enough attention, you can see Marcie's grandmother
peeking out the window,
slowly crawling across the floor, not low enough out of camera range.
Oh my goodness! Yes, please look for her. She's the cute old lady.
Look for her.
In between reruns of Golden Girls.
I was always wondering about that, Marcie. I was like,
oh, okay. So you did see her. Okay, that's my grandmother.
I think that's someone's Nana crawling across the floor there.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Are you holding back on a more embarrassing story?
That's really like, I can think, I'm trying to think. I can think of another kind of embarrassing story. If I did tell this story on the movie mixtape, but if you're okay with me repeating it.
Did I miss one?
As long as like Dirk's not going to sue us for like using material.
Oh, I hope not.
No, I hope not either.
I think he'll let this one slide.
Okay.
We were talking about being brave one time. I forget which episode it was, but he was like, I've never done anything that brave. It was Submarine, the movie Submarine, which is about like high school adolescents. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I'm going to tell this story. But when I was a sophomore in high school, there was a senior that I really liked, and he went to the same church as me. So I knew his family pretty well. I liked him. I had a big crush on him. Everybody had a crush on this guy. And it was fall, and, you know, Sadie Hawkins was happening. And I have no idea why, but I thought I would ask him, even though he was so much older than me. I ran into him in the hallway. I said, hey, would you like to go? He knew me, but never really kind of talked to me. But he knew me because of church mostly. Right. And he was like very polite and was like, oh, okay, I will think about it. And somehow, like, throughout the day, like, everybody had heard about it because, like I said, everybody kind of liked him. And everybody just kept going up to me like, I can't believe you asked him. And I was like, I know. And then when he eventually did say no, then it went all back around again. Then he said
so after he said no, you said, I will pray for you.
Oh, yeah. That would have been a great answer.
But it was kind of like awkward going to church the next couple of weeks.
Get somebody else to start your car, but I will pray for you.
He wanted to date outside his religion, I guess. That's all.
Probably,
yeah. So I want to see what it was like to date those Mennonite chicks.
Oh boy, yeah. So that's kind of like an embarrassing, bold story. I have an embarrassing extra story if you want to hear it.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Have either of you ever heard of or seen or read Me and Earl and the Dying Girl?
I can't say I have.
Okay.
No.
So the guy that wrote it is from Pittsburgh. And when they filmed the movie, they decided to film it here. It was filmed I don't know, Tim, if you've ever been to Oakland, but that's like where the University of Pittsburgh is.
That's where the Tower of Learning, right? Or what is it?
Yeah, Cathedral of Learning.
Cathedral of Learning.
Yeah.
Damn,
you were close. We call her Kathy. So, but we were at an old high school in Oakland that had been shut down for a couple years, and it was in the summertime, so it was very, very hot. But we had to pretend like it was autumn and winter, so we all had coats on, and so we were all like lying on the floor because it was just so hot. But we were doing B-roll, so we were just, you'd walk a little bit, go back, walk a little bit, go back. And there was a guy next to me, and my friend was with me that day. There were so many of us, though, that we kind of got scattered. So I was next to this guy, and I just started talking to him, and we were just kind of joking around a little bit. And I've done this a couple times. You get paid, whatever. So I just asked him, like, do you do this a lot? Get paid to be an extra and everything. And he just kind of laughed at me, and I don't know. So we kind of just, we kind of quieted down because we were starting to do it again and everything. So I noticed when he was going back, there was a blue duct tape X that he kept walking back to. Nobody else had an X. He was the main guy in the movie.
Oh my God, no.
Was he talking nicely to you the whole time? Like putting up with...
Yes. I'm just like, oh yeah, you're an extra. Like, what? Like, do you do this a lot? And he's the main guy in the movie.
He's dying inside.
God, that's hilarious. That is hilarious.
But he looks like a very normal, average guy. His name is Thomas Mann. If you ever look him up, he just looks like you wouldn't think anything.
Yeah.
He's very nice.
10 fingers, 2 arms. A very normal guy. Yeah. Just like one of us.
Yes.
But what about that third eye in the middle of his head?
Well, what you can do with makeup and prosthetics.
His hair was covering it.
It's amazing. It is amazing.
Do we do like an exit, like an outro?
Well, we say goodbye to you, and then I play the sound effects.
Thank you. And thank you so much for your time. And then afterwards, we'll talk about you. Then afterwards, we'll talk about you behind your back when you're gone. And then we'll
I would expect nothing less.
Then we'll close.
That's an honor.
We'd be like, oh man.
We didn't ask for any gossip behind the scenes of the Movie Mixtape podcast. What's Dirk like? Tell us this.
Yeah, I'll be like, that's what I'm going to say when we get out. I'm going to be like, I wish we could have gotten Dirk. I really wish.
Oh, Dirk is a cheeky bugger. That's all I'll say about Dirk.
Yeah, cheeky monkey.
Cheeky man.
Tell him I'm sorry for the Dr. Feelgood. I know I'm
you want some gossip?
Sure.
So when he was picking out his wrestling name, he almost went with Dr. Delicious.
Dr. Delicious.
That's more of a burlesque name, I think.
Yeah. And then he got Dirk from what is the Paul Thomas Anderson movie with Dirk Diggler? He got
Boogie Nights.
Dirk is from Dirk Diggler.
Oh my God, no! Oh wow.
Yeah. But he says not for the reasons you think.
Yeah, he only says that because one day an ex-girlfriend stepped up in the audience and said, "And I know better."
So there's your Dirk gossip.
All right, there's my gossip.
Wrestling persona. His wrestling gossip. Oh no, but no, I hope. I'm sorry my stories weren't super embarrassing.
It's okay.
That's all right.
At the time, but
Tim asking how much you vomited off that one shared can of Coors Light was worth it. I'm like, Tim, it was.
I think I throw up more now from Coors Light than I did in high school.
Oh my God! Why don't I'm like, why don't I just pee in a can for you? When I used to bartend, and people would be like, "I'll have a Coors Light, please." I'd be like, why don't I just pee in a can for you, sir?
Oh my goodness!
So judgmental, John.
I am. I've got a little judgy in my old age.
If we do have to get a cheaper beer, my husband and I, we really like Miller Lite. I don't know. Like, we're fine with it. We're fine with Miller Lite.
Not Corona?
We're okay. Not Corona. Yingling is good too. Sometimes
I like Yingling. They are anti-LGBT.
But if you're at a sporting event or something, and you're like, I don't want to spend for a hard seltzer what I could get for a Miller Lite, I'd rather have the Miller Lite than the hard seltzer.
Almost. I was kidding about the Coors Light thing. Sometimes
Coors Light is. I know there's no. There's a huge Bud Light and Coors Light are their own special thing that we do not touch.
Coors Light wanted to be our sponsor, but I don't know about now. I think you ruined it.
It's in your hands, Tim. You're the one with the edit button, as I'm constantly reminded.
Wow.
But Marcie, I really appreciate you being on the show.
Yes, Marcie, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you both so much. This was just I can't think of a better word, but delightful is just how I feel right now. So thank you.
Oh my God, thank you.
I'm just excited. I've become such a big fan of the Movie Mixtape, and I'm just I feel like this is awesome that I actually get to talk to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, we'll have to work with Dirk and try to get you both on the Movie Mixtape as well.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Maybe we'll try to get Dirk on here at one point too. We'll try. But I've really been enjoying this show so far too, and I'm really much especially the Gregory Peck story. I'm very much looking forward to hearing this. But
you have to have us on separately. We don't appear elsewhere together. That's in our contract.
All right, understood. All right, I'll inform Dirk.
Per Tim's demand. that beating cold black heart of a diva.
Right.
He's the one.
Well, Tim, you are coming on for a Patrick Stewart movie whenever we do one. That was agreed upon when you suggested that.
I would do that.
Just saying.
I can talk Patrick Stewart.
And John, you have to come on for Air Force One now. So that's the agreement.
I know. Spoiler: Glenn Close is the vice president.
It was you.
It was you.
Tim, you got to watch it. You got to watch Air Force One.
I will.
Please.
I'll watch that.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye, Marcie. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
So this is the part of the show where we end the show.
Yes. That was a
everybody's favorite part of the show.
Everybody's favorite part of the show, like punching out of work. That was a great. I had a great time talking to Marcie. I really enjoyed it very much.
Every time we have a guest, I feel like they should be our co-host.
No,
we don't have enough money for a third host.
No, say what you really mean, Tim. You want them to be your co-host.
No,
and you're just going to kick me to the curb. I know it's going to happen one day. One day,
having three
one
people.
Day it'll be like Seti Bimco with Tim and George and Tim and Marcie and Tim and Kathy Lee. And I know it's going to happen.
It's for when I need a vacation.
Oh, so you
guys run the show.
So now you need a vacation from me. This is how it all ended with Martin and Lewis. This is how it all ended with them. This was the beginning.
I think it ended with. Didn't Martin he wouldn't get rid of that heating pad?
He wouldn't get rid of the heating pad. Dean told him. He said, "Jerry, get rid of that heating." Did Jerry listen to Dean? No. That house in Bel Air went up in flames like a matchbox.
Next week's going to be when we watch something from long ago.
Yes.
And it's my turn to pick something.
Yes.
And we keep talking about a gun in the house, and I'm going to keep dragging that out, John. I think.
Is that the one we're going to watch?
No.
I'm
gonna build anticipation.
Okay.
For that one.
Maybe that could be the season finale.
I found a movie. Yeah. I found a movie I've heard about and I've never seen, and it's on YouTube. And it's from 1973, I believe. It's called Psychomania.
Oh.
So
I think this I think this is one of those movies I was not allowed to watch. I don't think I've ever seen it either.
George Sanders, it's his last film. Do you know this famous British
George
actor?
Sanders,
this is
All About Eve.
A British movie.
All About Eve. Spoiler alert, tragic ending. He committed suicide.
Yes. Oh, we're going to talk about that next week.
Oh, okay. We'll cut that out. Never mind.
It's okay.
Well, I see. Here I go. I'm having all the fun right now. Committed suicide.
You are.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But we'll talk about Psychomania next week. It's on YouTube if anybody wants to watch that movie.
And maybe it's better than Trog with Miss Joan Crawford.
Maybe. I've never seen that movie.
Maybe one week I'll pick Trog with Miss Joan Crawford. That was her final.
Okay.
That was her final film.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
There's another. Hey, Marcie, there's another mixtape. Movies that were famous actors' last films.
Academy Award-winning actors from the 40s and early 50s on their last leg. That. Yeah, because I think
we're always talking about fun stuff.
We always are. Suicide,
uplifting,
pedophilia. Yeah, it's a feel good. It's a feel good show. It's a smoke inhalation. Yeah, it's a real feel good show. Yeah.
Thinking your neighbor has.
I don't smell a rotting corpse down there, so I think we're okay.
He's probably a listener, and we've just lost him.
I know. Maybe he doesn't realize it's me, though.
All right, John. Well, you can send us an email at setibimco with the E at the end at gmail.com. I hate that E. I don't know how it got there.
The E got there, not to give away anything to the origin of the SETI BIMCO name, but actually there should be an E in the SETI BIMCO name.
There should be an E there.
There should be. That's why you did it.
But you can go to Twitter at SETIBIM, and we're on Instagram, SETI_BIMCO.
Right, not to be confused with Golden Grams and breakfast cereal. This is Instagram.
No. Send us letters. You see how easy it was? Dirk Feelgood did it.
Yep. And you know what? Send some hate mail. I can take it. I've built this thick skin, courtesy of Tim's cold black heart.
Yes.
Send
us a letter.
Send it.
We'll see you next week.
Okay, Tim. I'll see you next week. Bye.
SETI BIMCO is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly, produced by Miss Lee, music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.